All right, so we're live. Welcome to a random podcast with Babylonian Hebrew. This is my Monday night special, where it's January 8th, 2018, and we're here with a bunch of random associated individuals from Jean-Fracois Gariepi's Discord server, which I've been participating in for about half a month now, spending a bit of time there now and again. And we have this fantastic collection of gentlemen that I've assembled here for you. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves for my audience, go ahead.
I suppose I can go first. I am, well, for lack of ability to be public about my name, I would just call myself Francis. I am a sort of freelance engineer and studying astronomy, mathematics right now. Not a whole lot else to tell. I am a ethno-nationalist, tradcon sort of person.
And
No, I think he just muted himself.
And he just muted himself. So
oh yeah, I was finished speaking. Sorry.
Yeah. Hold on. We might have another one joining us, another individual joining us, Mitch, if anyone knows him. I've actually been watching his videos for quite some time now. I've seen him on several servers. I think I've seen him on a bunch of different Discord servers. So anyway, I've been exploring the sort of wonderful world of Discord. I guess in regards to JFG, I was actually just earlier talking about the quote debunking of his video that Destiny produced, and I was really just amazed at what a non-debunking the video was.
Are we
and specifically it was?
Are we going right into the discussion? Are we going to finish the introduction?
Yeah. If I assume that no one really wanted to introduce themselves, considering everyone sort of wasn't talking. But if everyone would actually like to introduce themselves, then go ahead, and then we'll leap into the discussion.
I assume we are going to be going in like a chronological order, so flyover stage one. So I figured next would be general.
Sure, yeah.
All right, general.
I do cancer research as a profession, I guess, at this point in my life. I have been on Discord for a while. I'm a relatively big fan of JF. I think he's a pretty cool guy. I don't agree with everything that he says, but seems to be on the right track. And yeah, that's my biography.
All right. So next, let's see. JP.
Sure. So I will start by simply saying that I'm a French Canadian, or like many people are saying, I'm a Québécois. And well, I got a master in history and centralization, and I'm working right now as a minor. And I've been on GF channel for quite a while now. I would say like almost 2 months, I guess, a little bit less than that. And yeah, I've been following him for quite a long time. Generally speaking, on YouTube for I don't know what 2 years now. And I always been agreeing with him on many points because I'm a Québécois nationalist. I think that Quebec should be separated from Canada in general. And yeah, I tend to follow GF around those lines. And I would say that I'm probably to what you would call a ethno-nationalist. And yeah, that would be it for, I guess, a simple introduction. Yeah.
All right. And does anyone else want to go into their introduction, or?
I don't really have anything too much to add. I'm a cybersecurity student. I kind of have been being on YouTube for a while. I traveled around the skeptic community for at least a couple of years, and now I'm starting to move into learning more about, and it's these boys have been saying, again, ethno-nationalism, the ideas of HBD, etc. It's interesting, at least.
Yeah.
As
right.
far as what the skeptics are putting forward, yeah.
All right. So, brilliant. I guess so. That's everyone who's going to be speaking for now. We're going to have a few people joining us later as the night progresses. But anyway, going back to what I was saying earlier, there's this video that Destiny, and I don't want to even speak his name because he's just such a diminutive little hideous bug man. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm being too harsh on him. I'm being too harsh on him. Like, see, I'm being genuinely unkind. I just have this aversion to bug men. I feel like bugmen. Like, some people are sort of most repulsed by the left wing like art or sociology student types. Like, for me, it's actually the bugmen that I find to be the most disturbing. Sort of within modernity.
Are you are you saying that he's a cockroach?
I would say that a cockroach is far too robust.
Also a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Don't insult the cockroach. But what would be your description of bugsman? I'm curious.
Bugmen. I think that the phenomena is kind of somewhat tied to the kind of new male, I guess, concept, as it were. But I think that the bugmen. So the bugman is a product of generally, I'd say, urban or suburban backgrounds. Generally, the bugman is sort of the kind of person who who's really into individualism or neoliberalism, or not really into it. The kind of person who the idea of like everyone as a consumer on a global market is like a statement that jumps out as like a thing that is really positive to them. The kind of person who really likes or who tends to like big tech companies or follow like tech trends or other sort of things like that, but it's hard to pin down. See, I'm just listing.
Okay, yeah, I know what you mean. Basically, the kind of normie cocks that follow the staticos without really asking himself a lot of questions.
But it's not just that. It's not. Oh, it's so much more. It's so much more than like. See, I'm doing a very poor job of describing the bugman. I'm just listing kind of attributes. I mean, it's
also an element of soy boy, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a good thing of saying it. Here's a good way to put it. The kind of person who would get like a crate service shipped to their house. You know what I mean? Like that type of sort of middle class individual. The kind of person who streams videos on Twitch instead of having a job.
I would say it was strange that these people have a sort of congruence with socialist ideals, despite being like.
I don't think just socialist. I think that they tend to range from like kind of socialist, like moderate socialist or social democrat, all the way to capitalist. I think quite a good many of them are actually kind of fervent capitalists. I found that's the thing about bug people. Quite a few of them are actually will espouse the virtues of capitalism. So that's just my personal observation. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I thought it was strange how you'd have these people who lean towards more socialist ideals actually being this sort of modern caricature that you're painting of the consumerist, the sort of global consumerist.
Yeah, that's true. I do see what you're saying. For those bug people who are socialist, I would say that most certainly is the case. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, I don't want to bully Destiny too much, but he made this absolutely terrible video, and he had the nerve, that he had the fucking audacity to call it a debunking video. And basically what it was is, okay, so he first off, he strawmans Garepi by effectively saying that he believes in phrenology, and then he goes on to say, he says some things that are just blatantly false. I think he states twice or three times, I forget which, but certainly more than once, I remember him stating in the video, there's no correlation between race, quote race, and by that I mean he's talking about population difference. There's no difference between race and skull size. Not skull size. The skull. One can't identify skulls in such way, which is absolute nonsense. Basically, like there is absolute when you look at populations around the globe, any forensic scientist or biologist or anthropologist, unless they're the most brainwashed cultural anthropologist, will immediately tell you that skull sizes do vary by geographic population. But ignoring that, so he says that, and then in the video, what he ends up saying, and this is the thing that I think is most ridiculous, is he basically ends up conflating what he calls Nazis and racists with and basically kind of, I guess, like ethno-nationalism. Effectively, he conflates that with the concept of acknowledging human biodiversity, and I thought that was just kind of it was a shameful display. Terrible video, Destiny. I give it like a 0.5 out of 10. And we were just going on to individually say amongst ourselves after that. We were talking about we started out by talking about the implications of something like human biodiversity, and then talking about whether you're collectivist or they're sort of collectivist and individualist. You don't need to have a preset political belief as a response to that. But sorry, go ahead, G.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say that it's a little bit like this video that Destiny did on Monty Buddha, saying that he was basically a Nazi. That was highly autistic. I don't know if if you have watched this video. It's disturbing.
Oh, I have, and I mean Destiny's videos. They're really all tolerable, and I'd love to have a conversation with him where I can explain to him, why it's incorrect to use terms such as Nazi or even terms such as racist, and why such terms are improper, precise. I really don't understand why people use terms like that when it would be much easier for them to actually describe what one's person's views are. Anyway, just based off of that, we moved on to
honestly.
We'd moved on to sort of like ideas of like the implications one draws from such things, but the fact that you don't have to have a preset ideological stance after the fact. But anyway, I just like to quickly welcome Mitch to the call. So Mitch, good to have you with us.
Hello.
No, it's I was going to say it's very easy to kind of conflate the idea that when you describe differences between races, that is inherently then racist. There's a lot of people that make that sort of connection. But I think it's important to kind of state that, well, no, it's not really racist to just say that there are differences between races, because there is no kind of inherent action of discrimination there.
Yeah, precisely. And there was someone earlier. Was that you earlier in the call who was discussing that? Who had made that point? The fact that they were that they didn't take that to any sort of conclusions. They merely sort of.
Yeah, probably.
All right. Yeah. I think that was
a lot like the early days in astronomy, when you had people saying, there's the model of the solar system that makes the most sense is one that is heliocentric, and then people had there would be this objection to that idea on the grounds that it would mean that the Bible was incorrect. Like you shouldn't come to a conclusion based on about someone's political opinions based on their
beliefs, and even then the idea of the heliocentric model, not
based on their acceptance of reality. Precisely, you shouldn't say, because this person accepts reality, this person is believes X, Y, and Z. Just because you've been dealing with a lot of arguments from people who believe X, Y, and Z and happen to accept reality doesn't mean that all people who accept reality believe X, Y, and Z.
It's the typical Fedora.
Well, I guess that if we're talking about reality, though, we should probably define what the reality is when it comes to the differences between, if we're going to talk about the differences between the races. I mean, if you want to go down this pathway, then we probably should then talk about the reality of those differences.
I mean, I think sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's not like you can. It's not like there's any logical conclusion to these ideas either. So it seems strange to try to reach some sort of a logical conclusion.
No, I wasn't talking about reaching any. No,
not you. Oh, okay, I was talking about. I was extrapolating further on the Destiny video.
Oh yeah.
Well. Anyway, I was thinking of actually perhaps doing a debunking of Destiny's debunking, but then I realized, it was really just not worth my time because he doesn't actually make any points. He just sort of mouths off and says.
Yeah, he just nitpicking all the times and arguing on semantics. That's what he does.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anyone on YouTube really who annoys me more than that. Anyway, have any of you seen the last sort of big conversations that have captivated the YouTube sphere, as it were?
Yeah,
You mean on the World
Sargon
History?
and Spencer and a side sticks.
Yeah,
I saw
there were a
smaller
few pretty
reactions.
eventful ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
Uh,
think that the one that that was that did the best on this stream was Styx. Even if I disagree with a lot of his point, he was the one that didn't spurg out like Spencer at some point, and definitely Sargon at most of it.
Well,
Yeah, I think that Sargon did not exactly do a phenomenal job in that stream, and I think
That's
that
an understatement, yeah.
yeah, people
Yeah.
people were saying about Styx. Styx made a good job. He made some pretty objective points and stuff like that. Yeah, I think he did, and I actually really like Styx, and I like a lot of his content. But I actually don't think that debate was necessarily one of his best performances, and I think he actually raised some silly points. I think that one of the most nonsensical things in the entire debate is the whole quibbling about what quote white is, and I think that fundamentally that's why a term like quote white should be abandoned. It's a new world construct. Effectively, I mean, it was really crystallized and codified as a thing. White, in regards to colonialism in the New World, and because it was developed sort of vis-a-vis those systems. Yeah, well, not just American. You'll hear similar rhetoric around in other colonial contexts, but at the same time, I think that because it's sort of made in that context, I think inherently it can't be. Really, I don't understand why people don't just say European. It would make things a lot clearer, and the delineation is a lot clearer. And I think that historically, people know who's European and who isn't. But people don't know who's quote white and who isn't.
Yeah, I think
intentionally in a lot of instances, because there have been deliberate muddyings of the water by, let's say, Jews in the West. Or people like that, you know what I mean?
So for instance, would you be willing to get behind what Richard Spencer said about the spirit of white people?
Because I wouldn't describe it as that. I think that that's in a very unromantic and kind of dumb way of putting it. I'd put it as I'd describe it as something like maybe a European spirit, and I'd say that within that, I'd say that Spengler was correct in sort of noting different trends in there being this sort of Faustian spirit as well as this Apollonian spirit. And I think that in a lot of ways that there are a lot of profound differences within the peoples of Europe from my perception. But at the same time, I would also say that in a lot of ways there are plenty of things that might make a Greek person or even a Maltese person or a Sicilian person or a Spanish person much more similar to an Englishman or to a Scandinavian person or a Russian than any of the above would be.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
a Jew or an Arab or a Berber, shall we say? I think that there. Yeah,
definitely.
I would be very curious. If there is some sort of spirit of the white man. And I'm not denying that might be the case. I mean, perhaps there is something there. I've been asking around a bit, and I still can't really figure out what it is that the spirit of the white person is.
I would say that it's kind of a Hellenic spirit in a sense. It's not only for the Greeks, it's for the whole fucking European spirit in general.
In the chat, Degenerate Pleb points out that, quote, the term white was initially used by non-Europeans to describe the Portuguese and Spanish explorers, and I think that makes perfect sense. And in that way, I think that it's definitely not my place to say these things, but at the same time, it's like
well, you consider yourself as Iranian Jews, right?
No, okay. So first of all, I think that no, it's mostly Iraqi, mostly coming from Baghdad, actually, not Iran. But at the same time, Jews within a country like Iran are not ethnically Iranian. They are, they may have some Iranian admixture, but they are primarily Levantine, just as Jews everywhere have at least a significant partial Levantine admixture, ranging to being like sometimes half or more of their entire genetic ancestry, as it were. I find that when you're talking about like some of these Mizrahi Jews, but what I find is that people deliberately blur sort of the whole Jewish thing in a really irritating way. It's like Jews aren't Jews are 9 out of 10 times not ethnically that close to the native population of the country that they're in. You know, with a few exceptions
yeah,
being
that's
like,
true, of course.
I don't know, Lebanon or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
But but I think that I definitely would not consider myself. See, I definitely would not consider myself, quote, white, and I definitely would not consider a Lebanese Christian person, quote, white, nor a Syrian person. And I think that it's silly when people quibble about things like that. It's like, no.
But technically speaking, I guess you would consider a lot of the Ashkenazi Jews white.
Well, no, I would consider them mixed race in the same sense that I would consider someone who is, let's say, half West African and half European. What would I consider that person? I wouldn't consider them, quote, white.
Well, no, I mean,
they wouldn't,
black. I would consider them mixed
themselves off as, you know, white. That's literally one of the huge talking points.
But do they? Because I find in my own personal life that it's relatively easy to identify Ashkenazi Jews. You simply need to look for people who claim to be European but have significant sort of like very strong sort of Mediterranean Levantine features. It's
you
very
don't
obvious.
necessarily have to, though, because race is passed down by both the mother and the father. Like if you have black people or white people or Asian people, it's passed down by either the mother or the father. When it comes to Judaism, as I suppose an ethnicity or a culture, it is exclusively passed down by the mother. And so there is a difference between someone that would be ethnically Jewish and someone that would be ethnically white, just based on how
the modern Jews barely self-conceive in that way. Like, especially secular modern Jews in the West, like, regardless of whether the father or the mother is Jewish. And when Jews use the concept Jewish, like, it's not clearly defined. Technically, I think it should be more clearly defined. I see what you're saying. But what I'm saying, when I was talking about Jewish earlier, really what I was talking about is, I guess what I described as Hebrew ancestry. Like, what I'm saying is Ashkenazi Jews are partially of European ancestry and partially of Hebrew ancestry. So if someone is that Hebrew ancestry being ancestry from the Levant. So what I'm basically saying, I mean, basically what I'm saying is, even if let's say your father was an Ashkenazi Jew who was genetically like half Middle Eastern, that means you're like what 1/4 genetically, you're like 1/4 Middle Eastern, even if they were your father. You know, that still sort of manifests itself, and all the implications of that.
So basically, I'm pretty sure I spoke to you about this in the past, and I think you disagree with it. But you totally disagree with the Shlomo San theory that a lot of Ashkenazi Jew was, you know, Khazar. Technically speaking.
See, I don't.
Because if they were Khazar, they would be way more European than, you know, what we think they are.
Well, actually, there's a bust that has been discovered. There's only one artifact that actually portrays the Khazars, and that is the Khazar bust, I believe. And that bust was, I think, actually created by Khazars for some sort of Khazar court. And what it was is, he looks Turkic. He looks like what you would expect a Khazar to look like. Where then, if you look at Ashkenazi Jews and then you look at the genome of Ashkenazi Jews, you don't really find anything particularly strong. Sometimes you find very small trace amounts of Central Asian or North Asian, Northeast Asian, sort of various Central Asian things that could be Turkic admixture. But to the degree that there is Khazar influence in the Ashkenazi or Johuri or other Jewish populations of from that region, I'd say the degree to which it is present is quite minimal, especially in Ashkenazi Jews, who really, if you analyze, actually, you'll find sort of East Mediterranean ancestry, that being what one can pretty much assume, considering it's consistent with Mizrahi and Sephardic Jews, is Middle Eastern, sort of Hebrew ancestry. And then you'll also find Southern European ancestry, and then later admixture from Northern Europeans, and then sometimes small amounts of let's say, sort of Eastern and like more Eastern ancestry.
Okay, fantastic.
Whatnot.
I was asking this because, you remember like 7 or 8 years ago, this theory was really popular around certain circle, I would say.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I think it's really dumb, and it's just untrue. And I mean, if anyone really, I mean, there are so many times when I get embroiled in these silly YouTube conversations where people think they know better about the origins of Jews. But really, if you look at the genetic evidence, and then you look at the, first of all, you need to look at, most Jews have a genetic ancestry that is effectively consistent with other Jews, so other Jewish groups from around the world. So if you look at the genetic information that is consistent, and then you sort of trace it back to a region in the world, it seems fairly straightforward that modern Jews descend from ancient Jews, and that was never really accepted as too controversial of a premise as until recently, basically.
Okay,
I don't know why it would be.